Hello folks, Charles75N here, and this is the beginning of my first fabric top project. So we get an Epiphone LP Jr here, and you can see where the paint is been cracking, and so I figured I could use a refin. And I said, well, while I'm at it, why don't we go ahead and do it as a fabric top? So we're going to do both the top and the backhand side of this. And so we'll start by sanding it down the top and the back down to wood so that we can adhere the fabric. And you might have already seen it over here in the corner, but this is what we're going to use. And so that should be really good. Okay. Alright. Nice and clean. You can see we kept the black on the sides. And here's our top. And so you can see where these were cracks in paint and they still go through all the way to the wood. And so hopefully gluing the fabric on will stabilize that a little bit. They don't go much deeper than that through the surface. And it's ready to receive its fabric. Okay folks, so we're all ready to go here. I've got my wood glue and I've got my fabric and I've got a sponge to go ahead and spread our wood glue. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and put a layer of glue on here, and then we're going to go ahead and spread it around nice and evenly. Making sure that we get everywhere. Okay. And I'm probably sure there's some people out there cringing, but this is the first time I'm trying this. And I think if you don't try stuff, then you're kind of missing out a little bit. Okay, so just got my sponge a little wetter so I could more evenly spread the wood glue. There were some places where it was kind of thickening up. And we're doing the back first, so the trick I think is going to be really get it on as smooth as possible. And we'll have a little bit of cleanup, I'm sure, to do once it sets. Okay. Now, one of the things you want to pay attention on putting the fabric on is making yours going in the direction that you want to. And I've looked at my fabric and decided that I wanted to put it with the small part of the paisley down. So just take this kind of step by step. And I'm going to use our back plate here to smooth out And any wrinkles or bobbles. And a little careful over here about the cavity. Now we're going to have a lot of overlap here, and that's okay. And we're not going to cut it off yet. So what we're going to do is we'll do our first layer of polyurethane once this is cured on both sides. And once you put that first layer on, this is going to stiffen up and you'll be able to trim it really accurately. And then we'll kind of put like a burst pattern on and give like a black burst pattern on it, and so you can kind of hide that edge. And then we'll go over to continuing with the rest of the polyurethane and the finish. So this is probably not the right way to do this at all, but it's the way that kind of made sense to my mind, and since it's my project, then I'm going to try it that way. Okay, that's the bottom. Alright, and so we're going to repeat the same steps that we did on the back, on the front. Just kind of get some glue going. And our sponge. And having the sponge wetter is definitely a lot more manageable here. It's coming out a lot, the glue is going on a lot smoother than it did on the other side. And I don't think we've compromised the integrity of it at all, really, because all it's doing is holding on that fabric. It's not like holding the wood together or anything. So now we're just smoothing it out the best we can. And I think this is a lot nicer than what I did on the back. Okay, so again, we're gonna take our fabric, and I'm putting this inside down. And you got to watch with your patterns, because especially if you got straight lines in your patterns, that you put the fabric on straight, which is why I used this part of the fabric that has that straight line edge where I could line them up. Okay, taking your back plate again. And this went on really smooth. I would say, on both the back and the front, flew it on a lot smoother than I thought they were. I thought it was going to be a lot harder to get it without any bubbles in it. But that did really well. And notice that I didn't glue the pocket because I didn't want there to be a problem with the neck. So what I'll do is when I polyurethane it, I'll cut this as a straight line as much as I can in the pocket, and so there won't be any fabric in there in our pocket. And we only have one pickup route, so that'll be nice and easy. So we'll do the polyurethane first coat. It'll stiffen up our fabric. We'll be able to cut our edges off, and that will be ready to do our burst pattern, and then continuing to lay on our polyurethane to get a nice shiny finish. All right, thank you. Okay, so Charles 75 in here, and so now we're ready to go ahead and put our first layer of poly on. We're going to do a thin coat just to go ahead and get the fabric thickened up so that we can trim off the excess. You can already tell I've trimmed the big part of the excess, and so you can see it's already going to look really nice in this fabric. Okay, so I'm going to get my roller in here, and I know that's not the right way to do that, but I'm doing things quickly. And just start rolling it on. And go to the edges. Try not to, it's a foam roller, so one of the things you'll notice that if I press too hard, I do get this kind of like a milky foam coming up from the poly. So it's, you get too much poly out there if you do it that way. So just be careful how hard you're pressing. This is a first coat just designed to go ahead and thicken this all up so that you can do your trimming. And so I'll do this and I'll let it dry. And then once it dries, we'll do the back, and then we'll trim them both at the same time. Make sure you hit your curves in here. I've got more poly on that side than I do over here, so and of course, like I said, I've not done this before, and I kind of watched a couple videos and taken a little bit from each one, but this is the way in my mind that this should work. And I'm sure I'm doing. It'll be nice when we're done. Let's just say that, I think. Okay, Philip, you can start recording. Okay, so here we are. We've got our fabric all trimmed. We've got 2 coats of poly on it. And we've done some wet sanding on the top. And so now it's on its 3rd coat of poly. Okay, folks, so what you can see here is that we've done both the top and the back, and now what I'm doing is I'm wet sanding down the poly to get it nice and smooth, and then I'm going to come back, I'm wet sanding the poly down to make it nice and smooth, and then I'm going to come back and clean this all up. We're going to put another coat of black on this, and then we're going to spray some gloss poly on all over it, and then we'll be ready to buff it and pretty much be done. So this is the back of it, which has been, which I'm almost done smoothing, and you can see it looks really good. And you can see this is the top, which I need to do next. Okay, so but you can see that it's all been trimmed down. This has been sanded real good. This is the fabric has been sanded right down to the body real close, so when we put that coat of black on there, it's not going to show. between that and the poly, so it's going to look real good. And while I've been doing it, I've been watching some Canucks with guitars and some Scar my guitar to go ahead and pass the time. All right, we're getting close. And we do have a pickup, and it is a Filtertron. You might have heard about it on Canucks with Guitars. Okay, so here we are doing some of the wet sanding on the top. And this is the second top that I've put on, because the first one, after I did it, I tried to go ahead and put a burst pattern on it, and it did not come out the way I wanted it to. And after sanding it down, it just looked too dingy, and the back was so much brighter. So I just go ahead and cut a new one and cut a new one and re-glued it and re-polyed. Yeah, so we'll do this a couple times, get it nice and smooth so that it accepts that spray poly pretty well. And then we'll wet sand that once it's all over the whole thing. And we should be ready to start getting it back together. Of course, that process still is going to take quite a bit of time. If you want to do it right, you got to take your time with it. All right. So I've just sprayed the first coat of gloss poly over the body here, and you would not believe how the color just came alive. And here's our back, and even our sides. Folks, this is the first time that I've done this, and I am so impressed with how it's coming out. I just can't wait to finish. Okay, so here we are, and we're down to the final, pretty much the final steps. I am wet sanding the body in order to get all the little, to even out the poly. And you just go around and do this and make sure that you keep your paper wet, because you don't want to burn through the poly all the way. You just want to hit the high spots off and smooth it out. And as you do that, I'm wet sanding here, so you'll see the liquid will turn kind of that milky white. And you'll feel the poly underneath. You'll feel the surface starting to smooth out. And you really only want to go until you got it feeling really smooth and you work out the rough spots. Otherwise, you're just taking off too much poly. And so I've already done this on the front, and now I'm doing the back. I've already kind of done the sides, and then from there we're on to polishing. Okay, so we've wet sanded the back and the sides and cleaned it all up, and now I've put a little bit of rubbing compound on the back, and we're going to start buffing this thing up. And so we've done all our sanding, we've got it smooth, and now we're looking to make it shine. Okay, and it's hard to do this and hold it at the same time, so I'm going to stop recording here, and then I'm going to come back and show you the results. And we're pretty much home at this point. It's just a matter of how shiny do we want to get it, how much do we want to buff it. You see that I'm doing things by hand here. I really kind of prefer to do them by hand. I know that if you use a buffer that you can probably get a deeper shine and a deeper gloss, but I'm enjoying doing this project by hand, so I think I'm going to keep doing it that way. All right. Okay, so did the bottom, and I'll show you that after in a little bit when I show you the top. So this is the top, which is still at sanding, and you can see it looks really good, but it is a little dull still. So we're gonna go ahead and compound it, and then we'll do, once we get it nice and once the compound has done its job and smoothed it out even more and given it some shine, then we will apply some regular guitar polish and finish it off that way. Alright, so let me finish this up. We'll come back and we'll see where we are. Okay. Alright folks, here we are with our finished project, and you can see as we turn it around, you can see the light reflecting off it and what our end product has come to be. And then our back is the same. There is going to be a part 2 on this project where I put it together, and that includes the pickup and new electronics in the back and some new tuners as well. I want to thank my friends on YouTube that have kind of given me some advice along the way. Ben Coombs, who suggested, hey, go ahead and do a fabric top. There's not a fabric tops in the world, he said. It also helped me out, along with Dave Nesdahl, with pickup selection for this, because after going through this, I did not want just a standard Epiphone humbucker in here. I wanted something pretty special. Yeah, so you may have heard about that on either Ben Kuhn's channel or on Nessa's. Also want to thank Luca and Martin from L&M Guitar Corner, who said, hey, go ahead and make a video of that when you do it, because we were talking about it. You said, no, you got to make a video. I said, okay. And also want to thank Sean from Scar My Guitar, who just, who's always changing up, who started out changing up old guitars and making them new. And Sir Sean, did I do a good job scarring this one? And to all my friends on YouTube who've just been supportive, and as we talked about the project and what I was going to do, and said, hey, I can't wait to see it. And so I really appreciate that. So thank you, everybody, for your support. Look forward to part 2. And as always, I hope you enjoy your guitar journey, and thank you for being a part of mine.